Hello, and welcome to the first ever edition of the Warhoundcast. So, in this episode, we've got Rich, we've got myself, Ewan, we have Nathan, and we have Leo.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi guys.
So, thought we'd chuck it around the room, say a bit about yourself, what you like to play in 40k, do you have any sort of things you do in the hobby in general, what are you playing at the moment? So, should we start with Nathan?
I'm Nathan. I play a lot of Grey Knights and, well, quite a lot of armies actually.
He's army fluid.
What was that?
You're army fluid, mate.
I'm army fluid. I flip flop.
Exactly.
And I do battle reports for Warp Foundry.
Which everybody should subscribe to, by the way, if you haven't already.
Yeah, go subscribe. www.youtube.com/Warp Foundry, and then the numbers and stuff afterwards. I'm the best at plugging stuff, don't you?
You're amazing, Leo.
I know, thank you.
You're the only one of the four of us that hasn't been on one of these yet.
Well, on the topic of Leo, like Ewan said, my name's Leo. I play everything Imperium based, so Ultramarines mainly, as he's going to take the piss out of me for in a second. But I also play Imperial Knights, Death Watch, Imperial Guard, so on and so forth. But yeah, I play a little bit of 40k competitively, but I mainly just mess around. I also run our Woking Warhounds Club Nights, which run every Monday. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's me.
So, my name's Ewan. I'm hosting, at least this week. I have a blog called 3 and 2, where I detail mostly the tournaments that I go to, and as I try and get 3 and 2 or better. I mostly play Chaos, and that sort of
Heretic.
any form of Chaos. Yeah, indeed. I play a little bit of Imperial Guard, and I'm playing Eldar at the moment, and I've been playing them for about 6 months. I'm really enjoying them.
You got Tyranids as well, don't
I've
you?
got them on the back shelf and waiting for something.
Waiting to dust them off.
Yeah, well, the thing was, the way I play Nids is very similar to the way I played Chaos.
Badly?
Ooh. I think I've got a... No, actually, I think the Nids... Have I played my Nids against you ever?
Yeah, you have, and it went shockingly for you, mate.
Fair enough. I can't remember that, but it doesn't surprise me. It was very similar to the way I was playing Chaos, so I kept on playing Chaos, and then I fancied a change, so that's why I started up the Eldar.
Big selves.
You can, we can see both of mine and your lists in the latest Warp Foundry battle report.
Yeah, because I'd say that
good
was...
plug. Good plug.
It is. Very good. Smooth as in there.
It is a very good game.
It is. It is.
Very
We won't give anything away on the result,
No.
but it was a really cool game. And there wasn't any Space Marines in it. I mean, I guess Gary Knight's a Space Marines. But
wait, what? He was playing? I was about to say.
But no one's like, oh no, I'm playing Grey Knights, unless you're a demon player.
I don't know. Grey Knights are pretty damn lethal.
They've got a decent amount of offense, but
Leo doesn't like my interceptors.
Shut up. Shut up. It's because you hide from me like a big girl. Don't let me shoot you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to put my 25.1 Moon 3-up save models in front of your big guns.
Right, I believe we're missing someone on introduction.
Oh, yeah, me, Rich. Oh, yeah, so my name's Rich. I've only been playing 40k since 8th edition dropped, so I'm considered like a newbie, I suppose. I play mainly Eldar, but I have just recently dabbled in Imperial Fists. And I normally prefer this sort of competitive scene really than to fluffy games. I mean, I will play the occasional fluffy game, but I'm just really into this competitive play really. I think it's great.
I think that's the thing. I think we're all kind of in that sort of casually competitive bubble, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know so much about you, Rich. But certainly the rest of us, we go to a reasonable number of tournaments.
Yeah. I tried to get in on as many as I can, but obviously with my job, it's a bit difficult. I'm down for the LGT next year.
Oh, cool.
Wicked.
Yeah,
I think the first time I met Rich at least, or our group met Rich, was at one of the I Buy War Games tournaments, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And we
well,
played against each other back when you used to play Eldar,
you
and that
absolutely
was
banged me that game. That was,
yeah,
I think I perils twice, didn't I,
yeah, you
on that
did.
warlock? I needed to get quick enough on those spears, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah, it was
And then
quite a rough game. But
yeah,
luckily, I'm not a complete asshole for the most part, so it was still a bit of fun.
Debatable.
Well, yes, Ewan.
yeah.
I think
That's
I
I
played
think
you,
that's when I
Rich.
was first putting out Yunari, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
that
You're
was
Yeah.
right.
that.
Well,
Yeah,
when
that was
that
before
was
Inari enough.
yeah, that was
Mm.
broken Yunari. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think.
Well,
I
you
don't know
say
how you feel
broken
about.
Inari, but you had a Wraith Knight, so
Yeah. Was
Yeah,
that that
Race
game?
Knights.
Was it?
Okay.
Was that the game where my Rangers almost took out Gulliman?
yes, yes, it
That was like
was. Yeah,
1-2,
yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
it? That was
That was
that would have been a
scary.
big
That
that
was
would have
fucking
been huge if
scary.
yeah. Oh madness.
And that
Oh,
would
I
be
love
the
it.
only time Gilliman has been shot to death.
I
Yeah,
shot
Fucking
Gilliman to death.
Rangers. When?
yeah.
When you tried to charge my hammerheads and I killed him in Overwatch.
Oh, that doesn't count. It doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Why doesn't that count?
But you don't count either, all right? Come on.
Okay, that's fair and reasonable. But is it what have people been doing hobby wise? Anyone been making anything? Cut off just before a tournament. Cut off.
Well, currently speaking, I'm currently working on a pair of Stormhawk Inceptors, which have to be ready by
Ooh.
7:30 tomorrow morning. Bear in mind, it is about 20 to
7:30.
8. Yeah, so I've got just under 12 hours to build and paint them, and
Yeah.
progress is slow. But I've had to do worse, so
Yeah.
it's not the worst in the world.
At least there's no one else that's sort of making anything at the moment that could be used
Nah.
tomorrow. Is there, Nathan?
Stop fucking dobbing him in it. Gee.
Well, to be fair, I've got most of it out of the way. I'm just doing the knight's weapons now. But I mean, I am currently painting 1,000,000 coats of white.
Fucking white.
Yeah.
Fucking
It
white.
sucks so bad.
Oh, that's too much blue. I fuck that.
So I think it's worth pointing out that tomorrow at the club we've got a doubles event going
Yes.
on.
Well, tomorrow on date of recording.
Yeah, tomorrow on date of recording, so 7th of
Mm.
December. And I think I'm the only one in the chat that's not going. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So seems like good. Do you want to sort of have a general talk about what you're bringing?
Yeah, we can do that. Do you want to start, Nathan?
Yeah, I can start.
Cool.
So, I'm bringing. It's probably better to just talk about the actual full team. So,
Yeah, makes more sense.
yeah. So me and Dennis, one of the other Warhounds guys, I'm bringing a battalion of Vestroyans, so Astra Militarum, which is 2 company commanders, 3 units of 10 infantry squads, and a single mortar team, a heavy weapon squad. And then I've got a super heavy detachment with 2 new Moirax with twin graviton pulsars and a Crusader with just standard loadout with a
Disgusting.
with a Ironstorm rocket pod, and my company commander's my warlord, and he's taking Grand Strategist and Kurov Aquila, so I can just farm CP. And because the tournament doesn't require you to list your pre-game strats, I haven't paid anything for my knight yet, but because Dennis is taking 2 Helverins and a Crusader, I'm probably
We've got 2 1,000-point lists, each with 3 knights in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a loyal, essentially a loyal 32 and a loyal. I think it's a rusty 17.
Rusty 17.
yeah, Rusty 17. Yeah, so it's 6 knights.
Ooh.
And just before we move on from that, I played against it on Monday night. Jesus Christ, one of our closest games we've ever had. They won because of what's it called? Variable game length, which I was very irritated about.
Yeah, I mean, your Smash captain did tank like
Oh,
the
yeah.
turns of a knight.
Oh
and
yeah.
that is the only reason why it was so close.
Should we go over to Leo's list then?
Yeah. So basically, I'm running Marines for this, as is my partner Matt. And we didn't really do a lot of prep, to be honest with you. We only had one practice game, just the way I am and he is, I suppose. Yeah, so I'm playing Iron Hands. He's playing Raven Guard, which, yes, I know, disgusting. We did, we didn't originally plan to play so gross, but I was like, what can I run? Because I don't really have time to paint anything up, and 1,000 points is hard to cast as Ultramarines. But regardless, so I decided on Iron Hand Successor with what trait did I take? I took Born Heroes and Tactical Withdrawal for the Smash Captains. So I'll cover the Smash Captains first. So I've just got one base Smash Captain, and for those who don't know, Smash Captain has a Jump Pack, a Storm Shield, and a Thunderhammer. And then I've got a second Smash Captain who has the same loadout, but he has Student of History, which means that he can consolidate 6 inches instead of 3. Yeah, so basically that allows him to jump around. So the idea is that with Born Heroes, Heroic Intervention 6 inches might give me some kind of free charge or a kind of gotcha moment with my opponent. And then from there, he can go an extra 6 inches, which basically gives him like 12 inches free movement, which is really nice. And then with Tactical Withdrawal, charging in and out of combat just gives him a little bit more bounce. And my Warlord for the list is a Captain on a Bike, obviously with standard twin bolt guns, but I've also given him the Teeth of Terror and a Storm Shield. Just basically chew through a little bit of chaff or screening. And then Imperium Sword, just for the extra attack, just to bump the Teeth of Terror up to strength 6, which is quite nice. And the T5 will make him a little bit more durable. And then the second part of my list is another 3 models, bringing up to a total of 6. 6 is quite impressive. 2 Stormhawk Inceptors of the same variety, so Typhoon Missile Launcher, Las Talon, and Twin Assault Cannon. And then 1 Storm Talon Gunship with Twin Las Cannon and 2 Assault Cannons. And yeah, my partner is running Raven Guard. I think it's 1 unit of 6, 1 unit of 5 Centurions, a Slaplin, so basically a chaplain with a jump pack, Thunderfire Cannon, and some chaff, some scouts and such. And yeah, basically our game plan's just fuck shit up pretty much, have a bit of fun, jump around the board. Hopefully the idea is that his sense can kind of protect my Smash Captains in combat.
All Assault Centurion, sorry.
Yes, all with bolters and flamers. I'm not sure of the rest of the gear, but you know, whatever. But yeah, it's gone.
They did really well against my Moirax.
Yeah. Thank you, Nathan, because for anyone that doesn't know, Morax have grav weaponry, and when a grav weapon is shooting against something with a save of 3 or better, it's flat 4 damage. And how many wounds do Centurions have? 4! So he was just popping them left, right, and center. And I said to Matt, he's going to fuck his Centurions up. And he went, nah, they'll be fine. I came back from going downstairs for a smoke. Leo, they're all dead. Great. Good job, Matt.
I rolled on the first round of shooting that we got. I rolled 11 shots on 1 Moirax and killed an entire 5-6 man unit.
Fucking gross.
Are they a 2d6 profile then?
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, you could have rolled poorly and they still would have killed a fuck ton.
Yeah. Strength 6 -3, flat 4 damage.
Fucking gross. It's so gross. Moraxes are disgusting, and they got a points drop, which is just insane.
What are you taking then, Rich?
So I'm taking Imperial Fists. I've got a Primaris Captain, who'll be my Chapter Master. He'll also have the Hand of Dawn or his Warlord trait, which gives him extra CP before the match begins. He's also got the Eye of Hypnoth, so it just makes him Lieutenant, rerolling those 1 to wounds. Then I've got a Primaris Chaplain with the Catechism of Fire, which does the +1 to wounds on the nearest visible enemy unit. So you cast it off sort of on like one of your units, and they get that +1. So that's really good. And then I've got 3 units of 5 intercessors of Stalkerbolt rifles, because you wouldn't take anything else other than that for Imperial Fists. And then I've got 2 Contemptor Mortis Dreadnoughts with just twin heavy bolters. And as Nathan found out the other week, they're just absolutely mad. And in Overwatch, I think that's where they did most of their work. Actually, it was in Overwatch, which was
I
insane.
will point out it was an anomaly, but yeah,
Yeah,
they're fucking
yeah.
great.
Getting those six
You got
sixes exploding hits is just
Yeah, you got
mental.
6. You hit 6 times in Overwatch, which turned into
Yeah,
12 hits.
12 hits. Yeah. So
Ooh,
what happened? No, so what happened was
wow.
I rolled the 12 shots. I got
Oh no.
3 sixes. So that made 6 hits. But obviously I was within 6 of my chapter master, so I got to re-roll all the failed hits. So I rolled the failed hits and got another 3 sixes, which then generated another. Yeah, so it's stacked. So I had like 12 hits. And
That's
it was just
really good.
mental.
I think your list
Yeah,
looks really strong. It sounds strong.
It
yeah,
is.
yeah,
It's a really, really, really like nice 1,000-point list for Imperial
yeah.
Fist. I
I
really
think
like
for
And I
it.
Imperial
think
Fist it was perfect for.
the
Yeah,
one thing that, sorry for interrupting, but the one thing that makes your list good is obviously because I struggle to castle because I either need a captain and a lieutenant or Gilliman or some kind of
yeah,
replacement. But you can just have one guy
yeah.
to do both. For what,
Chapter
like
on it,
to
yeah.
how many points? For how many points?
He's like what's a Primus captain, like
Like
98
95?
points?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
something
Yeah,
like
around
that.
that
yeah,
mark, isn't it?
yeah,
And it's
Whereas
essentially, well,
mine is like to have both, it's like 180, 170, which is a
yeah,
big portion of your army at 1,000
yeah.
points.
Sorry, yeah, I was just about to touch like I've been looking at like making like some 2,000 point lists for the Imperial Fist, and
Mm,
I look at like Tor Garadon, and I think yeah, he's he's good. He can give you that ballistic steel 2
yeah.
plus on like on a chosen unit, but I just think for 140 points, like I've not put him in any of
Yeah.
my lists. I said, why do you need him if you've got a Primaris chapter master for like 60 points cheaper almost, or 50 points cheaper. Sorry.
they got different roles because he's got a very nasty counter
good
assault threat.
Mm,
Mm.
But if you're only using him as a sort of in a casting role and just for the rerolls, then yeah, he's not in the same league.
Well, that's
yeah,
one of the reasons that Gilliman is still seeing play after his nerf is because at the end of the day, if like you start losing the game, you can buff him up with a librarian and a chaplain and sling him up the
yeah,
board because
mm,
he will take out almost anything with no trouble. He's amazing, and like I'm biased. Obviously, I'm biased, and everyone here knows I'm biased. But I do genuinely think Gilliman still is such a strong model.
Oh yeah, no,
So
definitely.
so strong.
he got a points drop as well a while back, didn't he?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then he also got because he used to be able to reroll all wounds and all
Yeah, he lost
hits.
that, didn't
But I don't know, his ability is questionably better now because I used to be very scared of things like Eldar and Dark Eldar with -2 to hit. But with
he?
Gilliman's ability, instead of just rolling failed hits, he rerolls all shots now. So let's say
Yeah,
you roll 3 threes. So okay, they hit, and then you apply modifiers, they miss. You can still reroll those threes,
mm,
Yeah,
which is super strong.
yeah,
yeah,
the change it's had on the meta already has been huge.
Yes, yeah, 100%.
Because the effect of that is so -2 to hit is obviously such a powerful effect, and to
Yeah.
have that
mm,
almost negated by
Yeah.
Marines has been huge. You've seen the Elder Flyer list just disappear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And good riddance. It's not a fun list to play
No,
against.
like I trounced on 2 Eldar lists and sorry, 1 Eldar list and 2 Dark Eldar list at the previous
yeah,
LGT just gone because there were no threat to me because after
yeah,
the minuses to hit, their planes are super flimsy.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's it's a worrying thing when what -2 to hit isn't enough to protect you,
Oh yeah.
especially as
Oh yeah.
oh yeah,
as a mechanic. It's still so powerful that it affects
Like what's
some
beating
armies.
it currently? Well, currently what is beating Marines? Necrons maybe
mm,
sometimes. They've got like a
Necrons
positive.
had a reasonable matchup. Tau can
Ta-
beat them in a
Tower
gunfight.
really
Yeah.
good. I
Yeah,
think
Tower really the new like 40 shield drone Tower list is really good against
Yeah.
new
Oh,
Marines,
it's
and
mental.
also
Mm,
Necrons are, but it's such a variable game. It's
yeah,
because the competitive Necron build is the 3 Doomsides, 3 Doomsday Arcs, and
Yeah.
then Imhotep
mm,
and Tesla. Like the randomness on all the big guns like plays a
Yeah.
massive part in it. So Necrons can either put up a really good fight against Marines or they just absolutely lose.
Absolutely battered.
Well, I
yeah.
think that's why they need some kind of standardization for it, or not standardization, sorry, some kind of like guarantee for it or modifier. Maybe like a +1 to those rolls, right? Or like a +1 to shots. Purely because Necrons, as underrated as they are, well, I don't think they are anymore. I think currently they're overrated. But Necrons, regardless, are a very cool faction.
Yes.
They are. And the
Yeah.
reanimation protocols haven't done enough with those. They just seem a bit shit and a bit useless.
The animation protocol. Sorry.
Yeah,
Go
reanimation protocols is good, but the higher the points the game gets into, the more the opponent can focus into a unit to get rid of them.
Yeah.
So actually, at 500,000 point games, Necrons are really good.
Did you say 500,000 points?
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
500 to 1,000 points.
Can you imagine that? No, just for a second, think 500,000 points of 40k aside.
You wouldn't even find that in Forge World, would you? Like, when
No.
you get not like the
Jesus
cabinets they have.
Christ.
That's probably only about 10,000.
That's
But,
Yeah, go on, Nathan, you were saying.
500,000 points is
What's that in money?
What's that in money?
I don't want to know what that is in money.
$1 billion.
Oh,
500,000 points is 50 Warlord Titans.
Woohoo! That's not something I'd like to face.
They're 10,000 points each.
Just as an aside, I've got the 40k stats breakdown of the win rates of each faction versus Marines at the moment.
Yes, I've seen that.
So the two best factions currently, and we should point out for those listening, we've recorded this before Chapter Approved 2019 has gone live, is currently Tau, Thousand Suns, and Chaos Demons all have a better than 50% win rate against Marines. Although it should be pointed out that Thousand Suns, and especially Demons, is less than 30 games. Tau are about 60 odd games, and they've got a pretty respectable record against them. Most of the rest of them are, Marines have a 60% win rate against or higher. A couple of exceptions, but as a sort of general rule. And if you're a Blood Angels player, there's been 23 games, and Blood Angels have won 2 of those.
Wow, impressive. I think it's very interesting because the thing is with Marines, like, you know what you're saying about the Tau Shield Drone list works very well against them, right? So someone like Rich's list who focuses on like overactive firepower, right? Mass reactive firepower, sorry.
Yeah.
I feel like he'd deal pretty damn well with it,
He wouldn't, because
you don't think?
No, so you have 3 units of 8 shield drones which stay hidden, which is what protects the Riptides, and then everything else is just 2-man units. So you physically cannot get rid of the shield drones no matter how much shooting you've got, because the chances of you killing a 2-man unit, like with their 4 up invuln and 5 up feel no pain, are you gonna put like an entire repulsor or like a repulsor cannon into like a 2-man unit of shield drones? And then if you do, the chances of you actually killing one are like minute because of the 4 up invuln.
So, and they've got fly, so you can't tag them in combat, which is another real issue when you're fighting against Tau, if you can even get to combat.
I mean that's another thing. The reason why that list has such a good win rate is because the use of the Pathfinder drones as well. So if you're trying to get into combat with them, then you're going to be -2 to charge like wherever you come in.
As if people don't struggle enough to get into combat with them already. Fuck off.
There's not a lot of Tau love in this podcast.
I would like
to
to
for a little while, and
I'd like to announce that Gilliman has successfully made it into Tau lines before. Thank you very much, and killed 2 Riptides by himself.
See, I never had any trouble with Tau. Well, mainly playing as Eldar, because Eldar got such good mortal wound output. Like, you just mortal wound the drones, and then once they're down, or you just get a load of scatter bikes, just focus by all the scatter bikes into the drones. Boom, 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 boom. I mean,
I think Raven Guard would be quite good against them.
I thought they can, because they can be up close with all those bolters and just sort of take out.
Because Tau don't really gain anything the closer you get to them, because they don't have rapid fire weapons really.
No.
Not the most popular build.
Yeah,
Well,
not
yeah.
the most popular build, but if you get, I think it's 18-inch range on the cyclic ion blasters.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
So the
if you
fusion,
get-
Oh yeah.
or fusion
yeah, so-
commanders are another popular choice.
yeah, not in the 40 shield drone build.
No.
The 40
Okay.
shield.
Yeah, I came up against it wasn't quite as an intense version of the massive like the mass shield drone list, but LG2 sorry, but it was like 2 riptides or maybe 3 riptides and like some broadsides and just loads of drones. And as you guys know, I'm very proud about the amount of shooting that I can do in a turn. But
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Was I struggling to keep up? I was pinching everything I could. Like at the time, I had a Doredo, 2 repulsors, and 20 intercessors, I think, and some inceptors. No, not inceptors. Sorry, infiltrators and Gilliman, and a banner, and Chief Librarian Tigaris, and Chaplain Cassius. But anyway, even with my buffs and my like stat negations and stuff, I was struggling to keep up, like super struggling, and I had to basically feed him some intercessors so that he'd kind of be tempted more forwards and I could take some shots. And the only way that I was winning that game was if he misplayed a move and slightly like a drone wasn't in place or something. But obviously, like I'm not going to be an arsehole and go, actually you're half an inch out to gain that drone. I'm going to be like, yeah, sure, player's intent, mate. But like it's very hard. It is super hard to play against Tau. I like Tau, but fuck Tau.
I think that's one of the things that the Tau list at the moment is one of those things that's it's not a fun list to play against. I'm not sure
Or
it's a
play,
fun list
or
to play.
No.
Yeah. And
The
I'm sure
funny-
there are
the
Tau
funny-
lists out there which are more interesting. Sorry, Nathan.
The funny thing was, like, just on the subject of the Tau list,
Mm.
the funny thing is that when I had Tau, like, 2 years ago now, I think it was,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
the last, after we came back from Battlelux, I was, like, redoing my list, and my new iteration of the list before I sold it was triple commanders, triple riptides, and
Yes,
like
it
30 shield drones.
was.
And I never went with it because I sold the list, and then all of a sudden, like 2 years later, like this
But
list
the thing
comes out,
is,
it's
is
like
at the time you
Oh.
can't guarantee that your list would have been
triple
good.
riptides. Yeah, I don't think it would have been because at the time it was like Yanari Central
Yes.
and Castellan and
Yeah. Oh fuck the
all that
Castellan.
stuff,
Oh.
I didn't mind the Castellan because
I
that
didn't
meta
really
was really good for me because I played a lot of Chaos Horde in that time. And
Well, yeah,
you had
at that
gun
point,
with 2d6 damage. Kill a horror with it.
I was
You were playing Ultramarines, I think.
yeah, no, I was playing Soup. I was playing 15 Hellblasters, Gilliman, a Crusader, and 2 Helverins. So Crusader was actually a big threat for me. It's not a Castellan
Yeah.
because it outranged me.
I think that's it. It's quite an interesting point because I think it's fair to say, Leo, that you are probably the gunliniest player of the club.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair. I do it well as well, if you don't mind me saying.
Because I think not at the moment. Historically, I've been the most Horde player up until I was playing Eldar.
Yeah.
Nathan's moved around a bit. He's been the foremost Grey Knight player. With little
Yeah,
teleporting
so to
tricks.
speak. Well, yeah, I suppose you could say Nathan's the tricksy player. Like he does combos and Tau and like weird Grey Knight stuff.
The
Yeah,
Grey Knight
like
stuff catches a lot of people by surprise.
I always go for lists that have a lot of like tricks and like sort of all eggs in one
Yeah.
basket kind of thing. So like the paladins, and then obviously with my new Eldar list with the Warlock Conclave as well.
Which
Have you had a chance to run that one out yet?
What was that?
Have you had a chance to give it a run out yet? Or was that still?
I haven't. No, it's all built. I've just been doing like battle reports and stuff. But once the once our Warhounds like campaign is done, then I'm probably going to take it for a spin in a couple of games just to test it out, and then over sort of Christmas and when's the next tournament? Is it January or February?
Yeah, January.
I think it's February actually, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's February. So it's sort of
Sure.
like after this tournament, I've got another knight to build, and then I'm painting 2 knights. But then once that's done, I've got my Eldar list to paint. So it'll
Ooh.
basically just be painting that solid for until that tournament,
Hmm.
and then it'll just be testing that list. And that's
yeah.
hopefully that is going to be the list that I sort of run with next year in like a competitive sense.
Dude,
Stick
it's
with it.
a really cool list, and it's one that's got better in chapter approved as well.
Yeah, it's got a lot better.
Do you want to sort of run us through the sort of the basics of it?
Yeah, so it's a bit complicated with the detachments. So I'll start with the Ulthway detachment. So it's an Ulthway battalion. It's Eldrad and just a normal warlock. Eldrad's there because I need 3 powers from a Farseer rather than 2, and I can't afford in this list to put 2 Farseers in. So Eldrad has Guide, Doom, and Fortune, which basically, apart from obviously Doom, all go on the Conclave to give them reroll hits and also 5 up feel no pain. And then the other Warlock, it just has Conceal, just to give a -1 to something. Then it's 2 units of Rangers and a 20 blob of Guardian Defenders for like deep striking and Black Guardians and whatever.
Gross.
And then it's after chapter approved, it will be 3 Wave Serpents with triple Shuriken Cannons. And I think I also have the points to give them vectored thrusters as well. So what I'll probably be doing is advancing them up the board so they also get a -1 to hit, as well as being Ulthway Wave Serpents.
You disgust me.
Says the Space Marine player.
Fuck off.
I think sorry.
And then I've got a Biltan battalion as well, and that's got a Warlock Skyrunner and a normal Warlock in it as well. So the Warlock Skyrunner has Protect and Jinx, and the reason why I've taken a Skyrunner rather than just a normal Warlock is because I use this. The plan is to use this Warlock to cast Protect on the Conclave. So because they're Biltan, I'm spending. Actually, I'm not spending 1 CP. He has my free relic, which is the Biltan relic, which means I can reroll failed psychic tests.
Oh,
So,
nice. That's really strong.
Yeah. So the most important power to get off, really, in this list is Protect and Quicken. So he's got reroll failed psychic tests on his Protect for giving them a 3-up invuln. And then the other Warlock just has Quicken. And then it's 3 units of Dire Avengers with their Exarch power replaced with Blade Storm, so 6 is Explode. And then it's a Siam Han Spearhead with the Autarch Skyrunner. So after chapter approved, he's my warlord anyway, but he'll still be my warlord. Rather than taking the Banshee mask, he's going to be taking the
Ignore
warlord
Overwatch.
trait. Yeah, the warlord trait to ignore Overwatch. And then I'm not sure what his loadout will be after that, to be honest.
Nova Lance fusion gun, maybe?
Yeah, probably something like that. Yeah, because he's already specced out with all that anyway. So I think he just loses 1 gun. I think. He's already in my list currently. He's got the laser lance fusion gun and a fusion pistol. So
all the guns. All the guns.
He'll just drop the fusion pistol and just take that, and basically switch his Banshee mask for the warlord trait. And then I've got my 10-man unit of Skyrunner Conclave, which I just refer to as the Seer Council because that's what it is in the fluff. So they're really expensive at the moment. So at the moment, before chapter approved, the 10-man unit costs 670 points.
Wow.
So they're
fucking steep.
They're basically Warlock Skyrunners, all in the same unit. So there's 10 Warlock Skyrunners in one unit. So the first rule that the Skyrunner Conclave have is the more Skyrunners you have in that unit, the more psychic powers they can have and also cast. So because I've got 10, they know 3 and can cast 3.
Wow.
So what they have is Enhance, which they're going to cast on themselves to give them a 2-up BS in combat, and then also Protect and Jinx as well, so that they can jinx whatever they're moving up to. And then they can just cast Smite as well. So I was going to replace their Smite with Witch Strike, which is +2 damage, but that was FAQ'd that it doesn't work on the Conclave, so I'm just going to take Smite, because the other rule that they have is if there's more than 7 of them in the unit, when they cast Smite, it's always D6 mortal wounds as well.
That's good.
Which is quite good for sort of quickening moving up, and then if you need to clear a screen, you can smite into the screen and potentially just clear
So
it.
they've all got dual shuriken catapults, don't they, as well?
Yeah, so they've got all of them have dual shuriken catapults, so it will be 40 shots with the shuriken catapults, and obviously with guide re-rolling everything. So they're basically like their own Guardian Defender bomb. And also, so I'm paying is it 5 or 10 points each for the singing spear? So basically, they've all got singing spears. So
I think it's 5 points a level. I could be wrong.
yeah, so they also have 10 shots with the spear. The spear is it will be hitting on 3s, re-rolling everything because of guide. Hopefully, if the psychic power or the combos kind of go off, then they always wound on 2s, no matter what it is. So it'd be wounding on 2s. There's no minus, but you're trying to sort of in this list your
chip damage.
Yeah, well, you're comboing Jinx into that so that it kind of gives them a pseudo -1 AP.
Right.
And then the damage is D3 damage. So
It's not bad.
yeah, it's not bad for sort of plinking stuff off. So they get 10 shots, and then the singing spears in combat, because they have 2 attacks each, so it'll be 20 attacks, hitting on 2s, re-rolling everything, wounding on 2s because it's a singing spear. And then again, there's no minus, but you're trying to get Jinx off on them, and then it's D3 damage again.
Wow.
So the main point of this list is that the wind, is it the Wind Runner?
Yeah.
Detachment, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm making the Siam Hand detachment the Wind Runner detachment for Vigilus. So the problem with this detachment is that the one of the stratagems is really overcosted. It's 3 CP to make all of your ranged weapons AP -1. So that it's really like.
Is that for the whole game or?
No, it's
just for the shooting.
It's a turn, I believe.
So it's 3 CP to do that, which is pretty ridiculous, to be honest.
It is
even worth it.
Aura effect, I think, so it can affect multiple units, but it's still.
Yeah, it's quite expensive. But the other stratagem is you can, as soon as you fought, you spend 2 CP and you can just move again and advance if you want to. So
wasn't that already a thing?
No,
Yannari could do something similar to that.
Yeah, Yannari could do stuff like that. But the problem with the Windrunner detachment is it doesn't affect Aspect Warriors, so you can't take Shining Spears as this, which generally is people's only like bike melee option in Eldar. So so you can use it with like an Autarch, so you can charge an Autarch in and then spend 2 CP and just move again and basically move them out. But because the Warlock Skyrunner Conclave isn't a Aspect Warrior unit, they can use that stratagem. So the idea is that they charge in, where they shoot, do tons of damage to either infantry or whatever, and plink some wounds off with the Singing Spears, charge in, do tons of damage with the Singing Spears, and then just move again and get out of there. So then you can obviously just keep doing that over and over and over again.
So I'm interested to know. So you said there's basically 30 psychic powers, right, in that unit. Do you literally mean that they could, if they wanted to, take every psychic power in the book?
No, they have 3 psychic powers.
So in the unit. not 3 psychic powers per model.
Yeah.
No,
Three
just the
psychic
unit.
powers per model. It's 3 psychic powers for the unit.
Okay, cool. So yeah, okay. Because I was just saying, if they were counted as separate units, that's like 30 odd smites.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
there's
Yeah, but
still.
their smites are the crap ones though. They only do like the one mortal
Yeah,
But
wound.
they've
still,
got,
if you got 30 of them,
They've
it's
got
just
Instructor.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the singing spears alone, without taking into account Jinx and Doom, do about 16 mortal wounds.
Mhm.
16 wounds, sorry, to something with a 3-up save.
Mhm.
So if you think that's 2/3 of a Night Dead plus the Shuriken shot plus the effects of Jinx and Doom, and then the potential to move away after is a really serious threat, and it's not a list that's particularly popular at the moment. Or 16, or put it another way, 16 wounds is a dead repulsor. How you get in there without the Overwatch is, well, I guess the Autoc's got to do his job there, but
Against a knight, so I always kind of use a knight as my go-to, just because they're for the
everyone
most
knows the
part,
stats
just
for Knight.
yeah. So with the if you put all the psychic powers into one knight, you're guaranteed to just kill it outright. Like there's a very, very low chance of not killing it with shooting. And this is from the whole list, by the way, not just the conclave. So I've obviously got
Right.
27 shuriken cannon shots from the wave serpents, with Doom as well, and then I've also got 4 shadow weavers, which are basically shuriken cannon mortars.
They're really good.
Yeah.
are they damaged too? Or are they?
No, they're
One.
just damaged. They are just shuriken cannon profile. It's just D6 shots and ignores line of sight.
But it's minus
It's
4
just
though, isn't it, on the 6?
yeah,
Mm.
-4 on a
Yeah.
6. The reason why I like them is that for the same cost of a night spinner, you can get 3 of them, and
Yeah.
3 of them is 3d6 shots, whereas a night spinner is 2d6.
I'm just going to jump in
Really-
in defense of the
Yeah,
Night
go
Spinner
for it.
because I've really liked it. So my other list is a very different style to Nathan's, and we've got very different style of things for our line of sight blockers, for our non-line of sight units. So I've been going down the expert crafters route as my sort of main trait, with reroll 1 hit on 1 wound, and I've been looking at vibro cannons. They synergize really, really well with it. In fact, if we're doing plugs, I did an article on my blog sort of talking about them.
Well, hey, plug.
Yay, shameless plug. Ewan's excellent Eldar experiments, episode 1. The excellent has a question mark after it for reference, but yeah, and I think, and the reason I've got a Night Spinner over a support weapon is A, I've maxed out on my support weapons anyway, but also the Night Spinner is a grav tank with fly, and
Yeah.
my list is very vulnerable to being wrapped. It's obviously not a concern for Nathan's list; he's much more likely to be the aggressor. But having something with fly that is quite cheap, I think it's 112 points for a Night Spinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Also,
can,
it comes with like a twin shuriken catapult as well. So like if you do get deep struck, you've got like that extra sort of kind of firepower, haven't you, to back yourself up.
yeah, so it's putting about 11 shots in Overwatch, which is pretty handy.
Yeah.
With both guns.
I think it's very circumstantial, though. That's the thing.
As a unit to help provide a bubble in front of me and stop deep striking charges, which my list is very vulnerable to. If things get to the vibro cannons, there's no real way for them to free themselves. So I think it has some other advantages. It's got damage too as well, which
Yeah.
it's nice.
It plays kind of a similar role, but also a very different role. They're very good.
Yeah, well, it
I'm not
depends, doesn't
saying,
it?
yeah, I'm not saying they're not very good. It's
Yeah,
just,
I think they're both excellent units. It's
Yeah.
just a really interesting comparison how two lists prioritize one over the other.
yeah. My list is more a priority because I'm spending so many points on the conclave. I kind of need to fit in those sort of niche roles at a budget, if you see what I mean. And for my list is not a list that I've kind of spec'd out for playing normal Eternal War missions. It's very much an ITC list because the conclave very much relies on the line of sight blocking terrain.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when I get out, I want to be out. I don't want to just be in the middle of the battlefield or sitting in a building where the other person can see me. So
Oh yeah, and just so everyone knows, so at our club we played at the bottom floor of terrain blocks line of sight. It's just something we've done for a while. So if we talk about anything in reference to that, it's what we mean.
Yeah, and we try and do as a general for our train the sort of LGT 2019 setup.
Yeah.
There's sort of two big L blocks in the middle, and then craters around some line
Well,
of
it just
sight buttons.
works. That's the thing. It works really nicely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I like it.
it's
After playing 5 games on it over a weekend, though, it does get quite tedious. Just a smidge,
yeah.
because it is literally identical. But yeah, it's good and it works. I had no troubles with it. Obviously, like terrain's a big thing for my army because it requires line of sight. But yeah, there's quite a few little sneaky vantage points you can get at and so on. And I think the whole ITC format is very, very fascinating and very well. I say very well, quite well written.
Mm.
But yeah, I think it definitely changed competitive 40k. I don't know if for the better because it almost seems less creative now. If that makes sense.
I think though it depends. It's one of those things that you depend on what you want. I think the ITC format as a tournament format, I prefer it to the GW Eternal War missions.
yeah,
I think
Because there
I
are-
think some kind of hybrid would be good because, like, I think with a lot of times in the game you go, okay, right, what with ITC this is okay. What's my objective? Oh, I can just create my own objective. That's great and all, but then it doesn't like. There's the bonus, sure, but honestly, who really goes for the bonus that much? Unless the game's like super close, who really goes for it, right?
yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. And I feel
I
like
think-
you're always going to choose the same benefits for your army and choose 2 against your opponent. And at that point, it goes, oh, it's Gene's Geocult, so we'll pick this, and it's like just almost a rinse and repeat thing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think you can make the argument if that's good or bad.
Yeah, that's fair.
There are things I like about ITC. There are things I like about the chapter approved things. Like I think the chapter approved missions put a much heavier emphasis on objective scoring.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
I have to say as well, talking about mission packs, it's not a big one. The missions at the last Fun and Fluff event, run by the London Wargaming Dark Sphere in Shepherd's Bush, highly recommend going to them, were really
Very
excellent.
nice guys.
And they were essentially ITC without the secondaries and with a sort of chance to gamble on your primaries, sort of double or nothing, essentially. That's a method I want to play again in future. It'd be nice to have them.
There are a lot
I
of
find
different
the,
interesting
like,
methods out there.
I've got an issue with each of the formats, and I do agree with you somewhat, Leo, in that it would be nice to get a mismatch of both. The problem that I have with ITC is that it's very killy at the moment.
Yes, I think that's much a reflection of the meta as well.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, yeah,
It's
definitely.
it's a reflection of the meta, but it's also a reflection of like the lack of like obviously you've got hold one and hold more, but that's not like a.
No, it's just a
I
tick over
know
thing.
that
Like it just happens.
I know that ITC is not supposed to be like a narrative thing, but it would be nice to have an actual different objective to play for.
Yeah.
As if you can balance that, I understand that like the hold one and hold more and so is nicely balanced, and it's one of the only ways you can balance it because
But it's
then
fucking
it's just
dull.
like
It's really dull.
yeah, it is, but like
Well, no, because normally what it is. Oh, sorry, go on.
the problem I have with that, like the ITC, is just that it rewards you for being more killy overall because most of the secondaries are about getting kills, and like there's only really one, apart from a couple of armies, that can do the other secondary objective based. The objective secondaries, really, most people are taking engineers, and that's it.
Yeah, it's engineers, and then you tend to mix around between sort of Mark for Death, the Big Game Hunter.
So it just inherently very killy, and then on the other side, I think that the missions themselves in GW are obviously far more enjoyable because there is some sort of narrative sense to it that this is what's happening. You know, it's
there's somewhere to go, something to do.
Yeah, so but I don't like the variable turn format.
No, I hate it.
It really like you can play a game absolutely like like, let's say you were playing a game against an opponent, and the opponent was just playing well, making like average dice rolls, and you were playing absolutely perfectly, but your dice rolls were absolutely crap. And you could be neck and neck up until turn 5, and then all of a sudden you would win on the turn 6, and you've actually been playing better than your opponent, but you've been hindered. But you would win the turn 6 over like outplaying them, and then the game just ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it can work in the opposite way as well. You know.
It does. Yeah, you could be winning the game, and then
Yeah.
you could be losing the game, and then get a point, and then all of a sudden the game ends, and it's like, well, you can't come back from that.
I think personally my bigger problem with the GW missions is there are some very mission-specific things that vastly affect how you would build your army. So the biggest one is the null zone mission.
Oh god,
it's very, very, very bad for like demons.
Everything,
or Harlequins as well.
Yeah, or Harlequins, yeah.
Possibly knights as well.
Or knights, yeah.
The way you have, I think, when you've got to build, especially if there's, typically in a tournament there's 5 missions, there's potentially 6 missions. 5 games, there's 6 missions. So having that, you can't sort of base your army. You try and base your army around having one mission where you know you're just going to. If you have a very specific style of army, which is not a decision I think good for a one-off thing. If it's like all the missions have a null zone thing, then I don't think it'll be a very good mission. But B, you could design your army around it, and if you choose to bring a load of pink horrors with a 4-up invuln, then kind of more for you. But I think when you've got something that's so impactful to a reasonably small selection of armies, but impacts them a huge amount, I don't think that's a good mission.
Yeah. Which is where it comes to ITC being a bit bland. It's because it's balanced. There isn't that sort of craziness.
But the reason it's balanced is because you can always just pick a different outcome that benefits you. You know what I mean? And it's like I think it categorizes armies. If you're this army, you'll pick X, Y, and Z. If you're that army, you'll pick 1, 2, and 3, and it kind of just puts everything in boxes for you to like push and play. And then that's to make the games go faster, but it just seems less interactive, if that makes sense. And I do
of all the interactivity problems in 40k, ITC missions are not on the high list for me. Flyers get a much bigger problem personally, but there we are.
Oh no, sorry. I mean interactive as in like you don't get to create your own experience as much. You know what I mean?
Okay, fair enough.
Not as in interactive as in like, oh, I can't shoot your -4 to hit Eldar Flyer.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah, no, I think that ITC is a very good and interesting concept, but the issue with it is like Nathan was saying, one of the main reasons that people are drawn to 40k is role playing, right? Because they pick the army that they feel they embody the most, right? Which is why Ewan plays demons. But anyway, but
I was going to say I played Chaos Space Marines, but the model that drew me to Chaos originally was the Bloodthirster, so yeah, Chaos Demons works pretty well.
But I feel like it's almost like, I don't know. I feel like the quality of gaming on a competitive level, yes, it's better, but on an actual game sense, it doesn't feel as rich. And I knew, like, after a weekend, I've only ever gone to one proper ITC tournament, but I felt after one weekend of gaming on those tables, it was just fucking like, oh my god, I wanted to rip my eyes out.
Was that LGT this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did have masses of fun with that one, but that was more due to the list I brought. I brought 3 Chaos Knights, 3 Discordants, 3 Spawn, and Araman.
Oh yeah, I had some real good fun at the tournament. But
I just didn't like my list. It did very well. I got onto table 10 in the final round before losing to Andy from D6 Evolution. But yeah, it wasn't a fun list, and I've had way more fun with my older since. Yeah,
I think that the whole
list, I just didn't for various reasons.
I think the whole 40k competitive scene is a very interesting one because it's one that I don't know. I don't want to say 40k doesn't condone it, but 40k kind of doesn't want to have anything to do with it, if that makes sense.
Well, the competitive scene.
Yeah, because their whole like thing is.
When you say 40k, do you mean Games Workshop?
Yeah, sorry, I do mean Games Workshop in general. Games Workshop are kind of like, all right, come in, buy our toys, and then leave, which is cool.
I
but then
disagree with that.
You do?
Yes, quite strongly actually.
Okay.
Because I think when you if you look at where we are specifically right now, we've just had chapter approved come out. I think that's a very strong indication that they are looking at this as a more competitive thing. And one of their big aims for 8th edition compared to 7th edition, the 7th edition had a lot of flaws and a lot of things. Was to make it a more competitive game. Is it, say, sort of competitive game or something like chess? No, but I think it's taking huge strides and is in a pretty good spot. The meta needs a few tweaks. Everyone knows Marines are a bit too powerful.
Yeah, it'll always need tweaks though.
But yeah, that's the thing. And I think having Marines as a dominant force is not a bad meta. I think one of the good things about having Marines as the meta is it is the first time actually that their sort of elite infantry army has taken over. Marines do lose a lot of vehicles as well, which has been seen before, but having that style of army is very different. It's a much healthier meta than, say, an Eldar flyer meta where some armies just can't interact with it. Marines
Guard really sucked then.
Yeah, if you're a Guard Legion Ross that's not a tank master, there's a very reasonable chance you can't hit an Eldar flyer. Even worse if you're a super heavy tank and you've got a 400, 500 point unit that can't hit a plane.
Yeah, I think
with Marines, they've got their own issues. The meta they've really made assault armies really, really struggle. You look at what's happened to Genestealer Cult as a prime example of that.
But they always struggled against the thing is Cult. Sorry, not Genestealer Cult. Tyranids never going to win against Space Marines. Most assault armies that aren't like super tier, like Genestealer Cult, flat out won't win against Marines.
I think that's the thing. The question is, I think there's two problems in that. Assault is in a very tough place.
It always has been, though.
Not always, but certainly in the past few editions it has been.
Yeah.
And it has to be a very specific unit with a very specific role to be a combat unit. I think this is quite an interesting topic in itself, but the sort of, if you look at it, there's no like mid-tier combat units that exist.
No.
It's cheap chaff or very high damage. That sort of middle ground isn't there.
Yeah.
Actually, on the topic of combat armies, so obviously, as we know, there are combat armies out there like Genestealer Cults and like, I don't know, Tyranids, like Demons, that all have a relatively okay fire output, right? Like Hive Guard or Mining Lasers or Chaos Dreadnoughts, right?
Yep.
So the thing is Marines, I feel, are the opposite. They are a fantastic shooting army that supposedly, because they are the finest of the Imperium, whatever, should be good in combat. But they're disgusting in combat. You can give a unit of intercessors like 70 attacks in combat if you try hard enough.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because I remember the first game after the Marine book came out, I was playing you there.
Yes.
Yes. Remember, it was my Plague Bear list.
That was a fun game.
Like,
it was a good game.
Against your sort of Ultramarines Castle.
Mm-hmm.
Without going into the specifics too much, I was essentially outshot and outcombated.
Yep.
I won through fluke and the fact that we had to call the game short.
Yes.
If it's gone on long, you'd have won, there's no question. But that sort of situation to be in is a very scary prospect.
And I think that's what makes it dangerous, where you can get an army like Raven Guard, who is supposedly a combat army. And don't get me wrong, they're very good at it, right? They're super good at being in combat, right? But when you throw something like Centurions in the mix, I don't really want to talk about Centurions too much because everyone's talking about them. Oh, look at them, they're so broken, whatever. But when you do throw something like Centurions into the mix, it's just like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand. Like, sure, make Marines good because everyone loves Marines, right? Well, maybe not everyone, but most people like Marines, right? Make them good, cool, that's really nice. But don't make them grotesquely broken, because currently, what's the worst Marine chapter, do you reckon, at the moment?
Black Templars, probably?
Right, Black Templars. At the end of the day, they still get access to most of the other shit that Marines get, right? So, Angels of Death, Doctrines, whatever, right?
Yeah.
They're still a good faction, and they beat, 60% of other factions, still?
Oh, yeah. I think the Black Templar list in a non-Marine game is still a very high powerful list. It won't be seen in the competitive setting because other chapters are currently much better.
And once again, I everybody's talking about Iron Hands and whatever and Raven Guard. But I think the fact that I actually discovered this earlier today, because I didn't know this, because first time. I've always played with Ultramarines, right? With Marines, I kind of don't want to curve to the meta and whatever, but I've been coerced by my partner for this tournament. Shut up. But yeah, I just find it really fascinating how, fair enough, Iron Hands move no penalty for firing heavy weapons, right?
Mm.
But the fact that when they're on the Devastator Doctrine, they get reroll ones to hit. I don't understand that. Okay, sure, Iron Hands, they're good, whatever, but that's not right. That's not right.
Before the nerf, they had so many ridiculous buffs, like
we worked this out.
rerolling ones to hit, ignoring heavy weapons, the Ironstone reducing damage on everything.
And
And
Overwatch as well.
Yeah, like 5-up invuln to everything within
I
6 seconds.
I think we should say a massive thank you to GW for not doing their normal wait and see for this and having a sort of an emergency FAQ for that, because that could have been a really, really terrible method for a long time.
It got to a point where I seriously considered that they had just forgotten to give them Vect as well.
They had the anti-psychos. Sorry, Rich. They had the anti-psychos strategy in there just for reasons, apparently.
Yeah, so they had anti-psycho, they had serpent shields, they had 5-up invulns, they
had Overwatch,
ignore heavy weapons, Overwatch from 5s,
Overwatch from 4s?
double wound bracket for vehicles.
Yeah,
and it's just absolutely crazy the amount.
It would have been very funny if they had given them Vect as well, just to.
I wouldn't have been surprised though. I would have just been like, yeah, sure.
It does make you think, like when they're all sitting there and they're writing all the the new rules or whatever, and they've just finished the Iron Hands and they look at it and go, yep, that's good, yep, no, that's not broken.
I reckon they're on crack.
Sorry.
Most of the it's quite well known that most of the rules writers for GW are like beer hammer gamers.
I see.
So the rules are very much sort of written with the intention of kind of being fluffy for the person, but also just being cool, if you see what I mean. So it can go both ways. It can either be just really lackluster or just crazy overpowered without them even thinking about it. And like what a couple of the guys at Frontline Gaming, they are the GW playtesters, and before the supplements even came out, they not leaked, but they basically released a statement saying that they did tell GW about the overpoweredness, but GW just ignored them and went with it anyway. So you can think of that what you want, but like it was brought up by external
professional gamers,
but obviously it wasn't listened to until it came out, and then whatever happened. And
I think GW deal with things as they come, don't they?
Well, to be fair to them, they've got a lot better at it over the years. 8th edition, as comparing 8th to 7th, is just.
But a lot of people don't like 8th because they feel it's too simplified because they played 7th. I don't agree. I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't agree with that.
Yeah,
but
I think 8th has less rules and more depth.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, I've only been playing since 8th, but a lot of people who I've spoken to that have played prior have said that 8th is the best. Like, it's more balanced than the rest of them.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's worth keeping in mind. If you look at a top tier, if you look at the difference between top and bottom, might be say 10% up and down in 8th edition. So sort of the top armies are at around 60%, like Marines. The bottom armies, like Nids, are around the 40% mark. If you view that back as 7th edition, it was probably closer to 80-20. So
or even 80-0 in some cases.
Especially when the people's I can't remember what they were called. The like specialist attachment things came out, like
formations.
Tau.
Oh
God.
Like Tau with the Riptide wing and yeah.
So I think it's fair to say that GW's rules have missed the mark with Marines. They are more powerful than they should be. The meta, even now it's adapting, is still struggling to cope with them. but I still think it's worth pointing out that it is much better than it has been in the past.
Yeah.
But as a sort of interesting point, how have people been tweaking their armies to deal with Marines?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
What?
that's the whole reason why I'm bringing 2 Moirax to the tournament tomorrow.
Well,
Mine's just
as a Marine player, no, go on, Rich. Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say, my philosophy was this is if you can't beat them, join them. You know.
Yeah.
But the thing
So
is,
I was gonna do. God.
sorry. No, I was gonna say like it's funny because I had the idea of starting Imperial Fists a while back, way before they were,
I can back him on that.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, I remember you saying it in the chat.
Yeah, and because I thought, oh, I've got Eldar, they're quite top tier. I thought, oh, it'd be nice to do like a sort of army that's not so good. And I thought, I want to do a Space Marine army. What's not so good in Space Marines at the moment? Like Imperial Fist, nobody plays Imperial Fist. I thought, oh, I'll do them as like my sort of like kind of like fluffy type army, if you like. And then all of a sudden, like new codex, the new subs came out, and now they're like top tier. I was like, oh, brilliant. So everyone's gonna think I've just popped onto the bandwagon, but
Well, that's so obviously Ultramarines were the first ones to get their supplements, and I've played Ultramarines since as long as I've been playing 40k, and I've if I've been playing another faction, they're normally souped in with Ultramarines, right? Don't ask me why. My Ultramarines are painted green. That may be heresy, but you can fuck off for a start. But it was such a shame because when the subs came out, and I was obviously playing Ultramarines, like 8 out of the 10 opponents that I played up against who didn't know me were like, "Oh, have you hopped on the bandwagon?" I'm like, "No." Like, I always write my own lists. I was one of the only people at LGT to use Gilliman. Like,
There was a lot of talk on Reddit when Iron Warriors, Iron Hands first.
Iron Warriors. Whoa.
When Iron Hands first came out, there was a lot of talk on Reddit of people that had been like long time Iron Hands collectors.
Yeah.
That had just said, "I'm just not going to play my army because I genuinely feel bad for like playing it."
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of sort of Iron Hands hating. Another group I'm with, there was a sort of reasonably new player, I believe. He was kind of getting quite embarrassed about the fact that he played Iron Hands, and that's not a good position to be in. Sort of army shaming people, as it were.
But we've never had that, like, because I think me and you have had a few conversations about it, haven't we? About how the meta, one of the most dominant armies of all time was Eldar Flyers, right? But you never felt. Yes, you never felt. Sorry, in 8th, yeah, you never felt ashamed to bring an Eldar Flyers list, right? Because it was almost a bit of a meme, right? But when, like, I've seen people genuinely being like angry. Oh, I fucking played against 3 Iron Hands lists this weekend. Like, chill out for a start.
It's because Eldar Flyers, they're like
bullshit.
Yeah, and it was like you can't really blame people who played the like 9 Eldar or whatever number of Eldar Flyers it was in that list, because Eldar at the time, so like a few months ago, I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago, the meta was in a position where not really any other Eldar list was good,
viable.
This was just after the nerf to psychic powers. Yeah, the Yanari nerf, and also the nerf that you can't use psychic powers in other.
So Doom and Jinx don't work with Drakari and
exactly. So basically, Drakari are really good mono. Harlequins are not very good mono, and Craft Worlds are a decent medium tier list. But what came out of that was the 9 Eldar Flyers, and you can't blame Eldar players for being pigeonholed into that list being the only viable list.
I
understand.
No, I know the point that you're about to make.
I understand the reason why people were so upset with Iron Hands is because it was all broken.
Everything.
Like, there is no way around it. It doesn't matter what you took in Iron Hands, it was broken.
Whether it was repulsors, centurions, flyers,
centurions, dreadnoughts, like
flyers.
With any like competitive player, you are going to find the most broken list, aren't you? So obviously, Eldar players, flyers are broken, so that they were going to choose in the 9 flyers, and then Iron Hands came out, and it was all about triple executioner before they got FAQ'd. So and that was broken as hell. So you can't really blame anyone, to be fair.
The point I was making about Iron Hands really was that it doesn't matter what it like in its original form. It didn't matter what you bought; it was broken. Whether it was 3 flyers, 3 repulsors, dreadnoughts, infantry, it doesn't matter. It was broken.
Yeah.
Because the rules were so powerful that it affected everything. It wasn't just like a single unit that was like, oh, I'll just take 9 Eldar flyers. It was like, I'll just take Iron Hands on my list because it'll be broken. If you see what I mean.
Well, I think so. You touched on the triple repulsor list.
Mm.
So I never conformed to the triple repulsor list, but when repulsors released, I was like, right, finally we're gonna get a good proper battle tank, not a big flimsy battle bus, right? Because the original repulsor's fucking trash and no one should use it ever, right?
But someone went top 8 with the last LVO with 2 of them.
Yeah, but he was that was a fucking weird list. Anyway, so quite a few people were running triple repulsor executioners, right? Which was good, but I've never run the like format print out and playlist, right? And I've always used Gilliman, and I was like, right, don't have enough points for 3 repulsors. What can I add in instead? And at the time, the only weakness I was noticing with the repulsors, and this obviously didn't affect Iron Hands, but for other Ultramarines chapters, was the lack of 5-up invuln, right? So I was like, right, how can I get a 5-up invuln? And originally, I had a idea to get the Custodes guy who gives us 6-inch aura of 5-up invuln, right? But that's like a whole detachment slot, which I just couldn't afford. But I basically settled on using a Forge World Dorado Dreadnought, I'm sure, as you guys know. And without realizing, what I'd done is I'd actually made myself like quote unquote Eldar proof, because they get +1 to hit against flyers. The Dorados, they're really good. I think it's -1 AP 2 damage or something like that. Obviously -2 with doctrines, and they made my repulsors and even my intercessors more survivable. And obviously with Gilliman's reworking of the rerolls, just adding that had made it really good. And I've seen a lot of Ultramarines lists, but I actually saw no one else running a Dorado and 2 repulsors in the same format. And I did quite well with the list. I'm sure, as you guys know, I did quite well. But apart from a few misplays for myself. But I don't know why it didn't catch on, because I think the Dorado is a fantastic model for 161 points or something like that. 261, something like that.
I think it's a really good model, but like you said, you never really see many people running them.
It was a lot. It was a lot. Not a lot, because there wasn't a lot of Space Marines anyway in like the competitive scene, but there were quite a few people running them before the nerf, because it was nerfed from being within 6 to wholly within 6.
Yes.
For the thing. So when it was within 6, it was really good.
But you can still fit 2 repulsors within 6.
I think the reason it's not taken is because it's a bad option. Because Marines have a lot of good options which are just better. It's not that the Dorado is in any way bad at all, but you look at the flyers
now. Yeah,
I
think
just
now.
Go through them. The Dorado obviously can't keep up with them. All the Centurions that typically infiltrate, and again, they're not going to benefit in the same way.
But that's not what you do with Ultramarines. I was talking about Ultramarines specifically. That wasn't like that's my fault. That wasn't like a Space Marines wide thing. I was talking about Ultramarines specifically, because Ultramarines, because we didn't really benefit from the Centurions in aggressors, but no one fucking likes aggressors because they're just baby Centurions. But the list I was seeing was triple repulsor and maybe Gilliman or like a few other things, and I was just like, oh god, it's just so boring. Like repulsor fire, like fuck off. Like, it's just dull. Do something more interesting with your life, all right? I'm sorry.
I love the way that you're being very critical of people with 3 repulsors when you've been running 2.
Yeah,
and there's clearly a very big difference there. There's nothing there that I'm not looking at. Should we move on from Marines and change it to something that sort of completely almost excludes Marines, just chapter approved, and the sort of we're not going to sort of do an in-depth review on it, but just a couple of things that's taken our fancy from it, whether it's in combination with something like Faith and Fury or Blood of Baal.
So
Yeah, take us away, Nathan.
I'll start just because I think I'm actually affected by chapter approved more than anyone with Grey Knights.
Yes, no
So,
arguments there.
Yeah, so I think after looking at the leaks, Grey Knights were, apart from a couple, I think CSM were the other one as well. Grey Knights were one of the only people that got a massive reduction on their normal units, whereas everyone else seems to have got reductions on sort of unused stuff. And I know Tyrannid's got massive reductions on specifically their big shooting stuff, stuff like that. Whereas I got like, so a normal strike marine before chapter approved cost 21 points, and a interceptor cost 23, which is more than a intercessor, isn't it?
Yes,
I
Intercessor
think,
17.
Yeah. Whereas they've both gone down to 17 now. So
That's good.
in combination with the character drops that Grey Knights got as well, so there was a drop to the Grandmasters, Grandmaster Nemesis Dread Knights.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
My 2,000 point list that had a lot of like normal marines, so not my paladin. Well, my paladin list dropped as well because the paladin's got a points decrease.
How many ish?
Paladins, I think it was sort of like around 5 points, which is decent.
Wow.
But they're so expensive anyway. They're still like over 50 points. So
Yeah, but because you run them in such large like quantities, like it helps, you know.
yeah, so it's like if I'm running a 10-man unit, it's 50 extra points, which is all right. But the big win is in my list that has like 60 normal marines, I've saved like 400 points.
That is
Jesus
you
Christ.
could fit a baby knight in there. We could fit a
I could.
not entirely souped up knight in there.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
just now the Grandmaster.
Yeah, which is what I was
Yeah,
planning to
true,
do.
yeah.
So yeah, my 2,000 point list will be triple Grandmasters.
Oh, wow.
Whereas at the moment it's one Grandmaster. So it'll be 60 Marines, a couple of support characters like Drago and whatever, triple Grandmaster, triple Venerable Dreadnought.
Nice. That's gonna kick ass. You know that, right? That's gonna properly kick ass.
Hopefully in Psychic Awakening we should get some decent stuff.
Yeah, because the Psychic
well,
Awakening
so-
stuff that's come out has been really good overall. Only really like Drakari and possibly Eldar have any reason to complain. But if I take over, my Chaos Horde list has really suffered.
Yeah.
It's the Plague Bearers they were in a tough spot in the meta anyway, just because of Marines and their point hike has come at a bad time for them. Probably still deserved, but harsh on them. The Zangors going up was very harsh. And the Thousand Sons Princes going up has made that list, which was a sort of a decent meta list before the Marines came out, has become quite weak very quickly, both because the Marines, both because the points dropped as well. It's a shame, but it kind of expected as well. Perhaps not on the Zangors, but there we are.
I think at this current moment in time, I don't think it was warranted, but I understand the increases and decreases on the Demon Princes to like segregate them depending on the legion.
Yeah,
there was a massive difference between like normal and then Death Guard and then Thousand Sons.
Yeah, I think they probably could have got rid of that with just decreasing the others and not increasing the one on particularly on Death Guard one. But they've done it. It's not unreasonable, and it gives a very strong reason to take the regular Chaos ones anyway. But
am I right in saying that you could potentially have 12 Demon Princes on the list? Or
no, they FAQ'd it once to yes, and then they changed it back to no.
That's a shame. Because I would like to see 12 Demon Princes running around.
I was never tempted to take more than 3 anyway.
Really?
Yeah, because I tended to have 2,000 Suns ones to smite and to buff the Zangors, and then I had a Torn Smash Prince. And there was
you changed the Zangors out for another 4 Demon Princes, right?
No, because the Zangors. you could do that if you want to try and reinvent a meta from 6 months ago. Then feel free. But
no, because I'm not a heretic.
The other stuff in chapter approved, the Chaos Space Marine stuff is really good. The Cultist nerf was very, very harsh in combination with a lot of the other things. The fact that they've reversed it down to 4, you've got some chaff again, which is at a sort of reasonable port level, is good. I didn't think it was enough of the points drops, but when you take it in combination with Faith and Fury, suddenly Chaos Marines look really interesting. I don't think they're top tier, but I think they can
They
have
can't be next to
competitive.
regular Marines, can they?
Yeah, but I think the fact that now the stuff is there that they can have a competitive build is really good, and I'm really excited to run Chaos Marines again, which I haven't been for a long time.
I love playing against Chaos
so
Marines. Absolutely love it.
So this affects my Red Corsairs as well. So
Yes,
there was not a single. Actually, I think the Dark Apostle is the only one that didn't receive a points drop in my 2000 point.
No, he went down as well.
Did he?
He went from 100 to 72 to be in line with the Space Marine Chaplain.
Actually, every single unit that I have in my Red Corsairs was dropped.
What, including the
the
discos?
The discos didn't go down, but their Bell Flamers did.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
By a lot as well. It was 20-point decrease.
I thought it was down to 20. I didn't think it was 20 point drop.
Oh yeah, it was down to 20, which means
okay.
So I think it's a 10-point drop.
Yeah.
Roughly. Yeah, because I was
still 30 points. You're running through, weren't you?
Yeah, because I was running them with autocannons before, just because of the price difference and the fact that they were a melee unit and the shooting was a bonus in my view. But I'll probably try and see if I've got the Bale Flamers somewhere around to check them on.
I've always found the Bale Flamers to be really good.
The Bale Flamers are good.
You used them against me, Ewan, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure yours had Bale Flamers when we played.
Possibly, but the list I kind of settled on, and the one I ran at LGT, was autocannons.
Yeah.
Just because they're cheaper, and half the time I was advancing and charging with them, or trying to anyway. So I didn't care about the gun, although I said advancing, but I think the Bell Flamer's an assault weapon. But...
Yeah, it's 30 points at the moment for a Bell Flamer, so 10 points drop.
Disco Lords are good. And the Eldar had a mixed time of it overall, but the list I've been running recently all went down. So I wasn't the Crimson Hunters. Everyone was aware from a mile off that they were getting nerfed, and I've been dropping them out of my list anyway because they didn't deal with Marines very well.
No.
And unless they went first, which is a problem that the list has in general. But the fact that I've been moving to Vibro, and I really like the Wraith platforms, Wraith Seers and Wraith Lords in particular.
Yeah.
And the fact that they synergize so well with Expert Crafters, I've been moving to them anyway. And so the fact that they've come down a couple of points, not a lot.
I think a lot of people have started dropping Eldar flyers anyway because of the restriction on flyers rumors.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk that there's going to be a rule of 3 on flyers.
Yeah, but obviously that hasn't come about at all. But
it is
not yet.
It is something that I think it would be interesting in the future to have like a 9th edition theory. What we'd like to see. But I do think the way flyers interact in 8th is fundamentally bad for the game.
Yeah, 100%.
And the fact that whenever you get a flyer that's sort of halfway decent, it gets spammed or taken in 3 of, and the way it interacts with deep striking and assaults is just not fun.
Do you think we could see a 9 Marine flyer list? Do you reckon that's something we could see?
I've played against a 7 Marine flyer list already, and I've played against a 6 Marine flyer list in a different tournament.
So what about 3 Stormhawk Inceptors, 3 Storm Talons, and 3 Xiphon Inceptors or Xiphon Pattern Fighters, whatever they are?
I don't think we'll see the full the 9 list, because I think Marines have got other good options, and I think when you go that heavy, you do put weaknesses in your list. You do get vulnerable to, say, a Zangle bomb deep striking if they can get there, and taking out your infantry things and getting tabled. So, or probably GT list would be better for that. But
just before because we're talking about chapter approved points drops, and you were talking about your Eldar. So my new Conclave list, which I was talking about earlier. The Conclave has dropped 10 points off each model.
Oh, wow.
So
you've got
100 points you've saved.
Yeah, so my list has already dropped 100 points, and then with other drops with Warlocks and stuff like that.
That's another like 10 points there, isn't it?
Do you know what Ultramarines got?
I can basically fit another Wave Serpent in my list.
Yeah, that's mega. That is.
So, do you know what Ultramarines got for chapter approved?
Yes, the Atropos went down.
The what?
The Forge World Super Heavy tank.
Oh, sweet. No,
Astraeus.
yeah, Astraeus. Pretty much, absolutely fuck all, which is fine because we never get anything in chapter approved. But I
To be fair, I think you can count your blessings that Marines didn't change, because if they had changed, they wouldn't have been taking the points down. Trust me.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you know you mentioned the Astraeus.
Yes.
So I actually looked at it because it's funny actually because it is the equivalent. It has the equivalent firepower of 3 repulsor executioners, right? Which first of all I think was very interesting, but before it was just over triple the price.
And
So
now it's double essentially, isn't it?
really,
Well, it's about 600 points, and
600 point base.
600.
I
Holy
think,
shit!
and I think where that gets scary is again in Iron Hands when you can give it the Iron Stone.
Yeah.
Gross.
There was a lot of talk online when the Iron Hands nerf came in with the restricted Ironstone that people were talking about getting the Astraeus because obviously you can still
Gross.
target it with the Ironstone.
Fucking gross. Well, guess who's splashing out $300?
Whether that ever came about, I don't know, but I think most people went to the Flyers, didn't they?
Yeah,
yes, they did.
Again, I think that's one of those things that it'll be a really powerful build. That I'm not sure it'll be the most powerful Space Marine build.
I don't think it'll be common to see either because no one's going to want to fork out for one of those big fuckers.
Yeah.
Because they look like pieces of shit. Let's be honest.
I don't mind the look. I prefer the
come
look.
on.
I prefer the look of that tank to the Repulsor. I don't like it.
Really?
The Repulsor looks like something an Awkward build.
Oh, fuck off. No, don't start that. Don't fucking start that. Don't start.
I mean, it does. It's like, oh, we can get another minigun here and another gun here, and there's.
I mean, most of your weapons are marine technology, so you can shut the fuck up.
It looks like it should have a crane
list do you
wrecking ball
refer
hanging off of it.
Eldar, Ewan.
Yeah, all those bright lances that look just like Imperial weapons.
Imperial tech, mate. Everyone
Yeah.
makes their weapons from our shit.
I mean, the fact that the Eldar predate their stuff by what 10,000 years plus.
Nah, that's just heresy. You're just talking heresy now.
In fact, 10,000 years would be 30k, and Eldar were still using the same technology then, so way before then. Unless you're a Necron player. So hi, Dennis. I don't think you can say the Eldar have copied your stuff. Yeah, the Imperial stuff definitely was after Eldar.
I mean, I'm pretty sure there are some aspect warriors out there older than the Emperor, but that's besides the point.
I mean, Eldrad is the oldest one I'm aware of in the fluff because he was around in the sort of 30k and was responsible for a lot of the events of the heresy.
Isn't that why he's 10,000 years old?
Yeah.
That's like older than me. What the fuck?
He was. Yes, 10,000 years. He's a lot older than you, Leo. I really hope.
Yeah, I'm actually 50,000 years old. So don't know if you knew, guys.
Well, that just raises all sorts of questions. Yeah, I'm sure there must be an Eldar person that's older. I can't think of one because, Eldrad was quite heavily involved in heresy and
Google.
Yeah, if only there was some sort of source of information.
Kane was he?
Well, he was Elder God, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of the Dark Eldar would have been. I just
Oh, yeah.
can't think of a reaction to Slanesh, so I suspect they're.
Azdrael Vect might be.
Yeah.
What was that word you just said?
Vect.
Ah.
The strategy is
familiar.
Because Vex probably died about 15 times and been cloned and things. So.
Oh yeah, well, like this isn't like mortals, but a lot of greater demons date back to like like when Necrons were around. So
yeah,
that's true. That is true.
Yeah, because they're sort of in the 40k universe, they're like the sort of the biblical demons that the sort of the Bible would speak about in the 40k universe. Let's not get onto religion; that's like a dangerous subject. But yeah,
yeah, let's not get into
lore-wise. Just on the article that I'm reading, the Necron Treyarch Praetorians never went to sleep, so they've actually been awake for the full 60 million years.
Ooh,
Fuck off. Fuck
I mean,
off.
I imagine they've been like not
Pretty bored.
asleep, but like hibernating almost, like on that sort of like
Well, yeah, I know
they're
it's a
like
shit.
they're on the lock screen, if you know what I mean.
I know it's a
Yeah.
shitty
waiting.
comparison, but vampires don't sleep, but they still like hibernate. Like they still like rest, if that makes sense.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Just being a Necron tomb guard and you're like, right, you're gonna guard these, this legion of Necron warriors. Just wake them up.
Sorry,
if
were you
anything
about to say
happens.
this tomb guardian is going to guard this tomb?
No, I was trying to think what a multiple Necron warrior was, and it's like, oh, my name is Legion, we are death, whatever it is.
I think the key thing in the Necron thing is that they don't have any souls, so they don't really give a shit.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're
You
quite
tell 'em
happy
to
just
stand-
to up and
I
stand
don't
there.
think
Yeah,
souls related
tell
to
'em-
boredom though.
Yeah, you tell them to stand there for 60 million years, and they're just like, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
alright.
have any. I don't have any feelings regarding this. Yeah, fine, whatever,
He's
man.
like, is that it? 60 million years?
It's gonna pay for my pension, that.
Yeah. Time and a half I'm getting
Yeah.
Yeah.
but,
So my list went down a little bit. If we're going back to lists and stuff, like
Yeah.
Prisms went down, Shining Spears have gone down again.
Oh, fuck.
Dark Reapers have even gone down as well.
well, yeah, because they got
Yep.
points increased that were like related to Yunari.
Yeah.
And
But
then
now
the-
you know it's
yeah,
kind of died.
because I experimented with Reapers for a while, both as a Latok and a sort of 8-man unit with sort of trying to guide and do something, and as a trying out the 3-man squads with extra shot. In fact, going back to plugging, it features in the first battle reports that it's on Warp Foundry.
Plug time.
I'm not plugging my thing in even.
It's still a plug though.
Yeah, and I found that while their damage output is really good, I don't like them in the current meta. But yeah, so it's nice to see them get a thing. The Spears one is interesting as well because again,
I just think the problem with Dark Reapers are, especially against like some of the Marine lists you've got now, like the ones where they run like whirlwinds and thunderfire cannons. Like,
yeah,
if you've got one, if you start the game and you've got your Reapers in the Wave Serpent, and then you jump them out and they do their shooting, you just know that the
Pardon me.
next round they're just going to get absolutely tanked by thunderfire cannons or whirlwinds, and then that's like three. If you've got like you said that you had like an 8-man unit, that's like 300 points, I think, like just gone. You know what I mean? And all that
You know what? To be
firepower.
honest with you, I wouldn't be that threatened by Thunderfire cannons. Kind of shit.
no,
Yeah, but
very
if you
strongly
run
disagree with that.
3 thunderfire cannons, and then you've got to take it like like sort of like the morale phase. Some if you kill like 2 or 3 of them, some might run away or
Yeah,
or
I didn't
whatever.
think of that. I mean, Marines don't really care about morale, so I never bother with that phase.
So to put it in another perspective, a Reaper is I think 31 points now, and a
Right.
Thunderfire cannon is 80 points.
Oh yeah.
Or no,
alright,
or
yeah.
80, 90 points, I forget, sorry. But it has 8 shots, of which 6 will hit, and then you probably
No, Thunderfire cannons are 4d3.
Yeah, so on average 8.
Oh, okay.
So they're hitting 7 times, roughly speaking. Even if there's no lieutenant around, they're wounding 5 or 6 of those times. The Reapers are then got to make 5 or 6 saves at -2. Even if they're in cover, they're going to 4 up, so 3 of them are dead. In the first turn, the Thunderfire cannon's already got its point back, and that's before you have lieutenants involved.
Exactly.
Before you have,
Yeah, but I was talking about in
double
general.
shooting.
That's a very normally Thunderfire cannons are shooting at chaff or screens or
That's the thing,
guardsmen.
they're cheap, and again, their stratagem is amazing. Their
Yeah.
half
Yeah.
movement thing is another reason why the Plague Bearer list just disappeared overnight.
Yeah.
Well,
I was
Um,
going to say
Then,
the- I
when
was
you can
gonna
only
say
move
the
2.5 inches.
Yeah, the Thunderfire cannon, not for the firepower. Well, for the firepower, somewhat for getting people off of like backfield objectives if they're in cover or like out of line of sight or whatever. But specifically for the tremor shells, like there's just a tech choice. It's such a good choice.
Yeah, well, I think in our game, Nathan, we didn't really have the chance to do that, did we? Because we had like what 4 CP or some shit.
It wouldn't have mattered if you'd done that anyway because
No, I mean like the firing
you
twice
came-
and such.
Oh right, yeah, but like the tremor shells and stuff like that, like you coming halving our movement wouldn't have really made a difference because you had to come to us anyway.
No, well, that's bullshit. We could have just sat in the middle for the whole game. But anyway, no, it's not the point. Let's not argue
Yeah,
about the
but
results of the game.
that
So what I
is-
mean.
Fight!
Shut up! No, because my main point was right with the movement thing is so when you came out and your knights all came out,
Mhm.
if we had a tremor shell one of your knights, it would have made it harder for you.
Why?
It might not have impacted you because you choked
Why?
yourself in the corner.
Yeah, but even if you half the like the only
I don't think
knights
it
that were
works on-
blocking.
Knights, the half movement. I think it's only on infantry. I could be
Oh,
wrong.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, argument's null and void then, doesn't matter. But yeah, I think that yeah, it's interesting because like you're saying earlier, Ewan, about how eighth is kind of this simpler but more in-depth version of seventh with things like stratagems. I think that stratagems have I don't know if they changed the game in a good way or a bad way. Like I feel like instead of stratagems, you could just give models more rules because stratagems has turned the game into like a deck builder now, basically. Because I remember before I don't remember what it was, but before you could pardon me, basically turn up to a game with like 3 Imperial factions and have like 250 cards you rock up with and be like, give me half an hour to sift through these. Like it's interesting.
I'm a big fan of what strategists have done. I think the disadvantage of giving things extra rules is sometimes you want the thing not to have the rules. So,
Yeah.
as an example, if you think of something like Chaos have Endless Cacophony, where you can double shoot a unit, you don't want every unit that has. You don't want to say
Well, no,
every
I
obliterator
mean-
unit to have the potential to do that.
Yeah, but you'd have like
so-
some like activation cost or something like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, if there's an
Instead of
activation
just a
cost,
card.
then why not? Then the CP would be.
No, but I don't mean a CP. Like something you have to do in game, like with the Nurgle, like get 1 kill, 2 kills, 3 kills, 4 kills,
okay.
5 kills, whatever, something like that. Like I don't know, move 2,000 inches in a game.
I mean,
But yeah, you understand what I mean.
Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire
Yeah, but who gives a
has
fuck about Shadespire?
well, just as a comparison.
Yeah, no, I know.
It has a thing where each unit essentially has a veteran status, which has a specific objective to accomplish. So, for example, the dwarves in the thing have to sit on an objective for a turn. If they do that, they get more powerful. So I guess you could have a way to do that. So if Tau shot a particular unit out of cover or whatever, or if you've got 5 hits with marker lights or something, then they could be like, okay,
Yes.
cool. Then I get +1 to my ballistic skill. It could be a different way to do stratagems, but I think each of their pros and cons. And I like what stratagems have done, especially if you can use them as sort of as patch notes, as it were. So
Yeah,
if you look at the if you look at the faith, psychic awakening in general,
yeah.
it's served as a sort of codex 2.0 for a lot of factions
Mm.
without having to redo the
100%.
codex. And if you look at what it's done to say my Eldar build, it's gone in a very different direction as a result. It's
Yeah.
the chaos things look really cool and certainly look like there's some stuff worth experimenting. Nids looked completely useless. I think they were.
They're always
Grey Knights,
fucking useless.
Grey Knight's the weakest faction. I don't think this will push them to the top, but I think there's some really cool stuff in there which allows them.
I've never thought the Grey Knights were the worst faction. You know, I think it's people are too dumb to play them. Nathan plays them fucking brilliantly.
They were the worst faction until they got Shock Assault.
No,
and
but
Bolter
statistically,
discipline.
yeah,
Yeah, they were.
I think as well.
Statistically, before Shock Assault and Bolter Drill, Grey Knights were the worst faction.
yeah, but I think that's because people didn't know how to play them, not because they're a bad army, right?
I think Grey Knights had a lot of problems that
Oh, yeah, of course.
made it hard to play. I think what Nathan does is he obviously takes a lot of the better units and is very good at the army, and the way he plays it is very different.
But
to how
Nathan plays very intelligently. That's the thing. He doesn't play like I do. I play. There's a thing that I need to kill. I'm going to kill it because I have enough guns to do so. That's my thought process, right? Like if 40 Plague Bearers are running at me, I'm not going to tend to run at you. I'm just going to shoot you in the face, right? But Nathan goes, right, in 4 moves time, that's going to be dead. So I need to kill that. Or I need to kill this before that, and then the next turn I kill that. Or in my case against me, just fucking hide everything. And he knows that he's got me in a stalemate because I cannot do anything. Like there was literally nothing I could do to win that game.
I think the thing is, though, that if you talk about Grey Knights like teleporting tricks, other factions can do that as well and are more forgiving. So Genestealer Cult have a lot of a similar sort of deep strike thing. Death Watch have they've got lots of teleporting tricks as well.
Yeah, but Death Watch is shit.
And they've got a higher power level than Grey Knights. They've got more offense and often a lot of times more defense. think of a Death Watch, they've got
I
active
just think
storm shield.
I think like I'm blowing my own trumpet a little bit here, but I'm quite I'm not completely and utterly knowledgeable about every army, but I'm quite knowledgeable about the normal strategies that other armies take. So I can always sort of go, well, your army composition's like this, you're obviously going to use this strategy. Like, in like our game, Ewan, the way that I deployed my knights in a line and then just completely blocked out all your deep strike and then kept my Grey Knights 12 back to move forward the next turn and then etc. And the same with you, Leo. I knew you were going to castle, so I could just teleport behind buildings and sit there the whole game.
Yeah. And I couldn't do
Able
anything.
to do anything. Yeah,
No.
exactly.
Which,
so...
to be fair, first of all, fuck you. It's a really boring game.
But no, I think part of that is you're renowned again, as we said, as a gunline player, and this sort of keeping a castle. And I do think sometimes you'd be better off playing a bit more aggressively. But yeah, sorry, continue with your point.
Yeah. So the thing is there were it's quite funny actually. There were several points in the game where I thought, right, okay, this turn I'm going to be more aggressive, and then Nathan would proceed to shoot me with 10 Inceptors who were doing some shenanigans off to the left and kill like half my intercessors, and then get shot with like 2 dreads that were shooting through walls at me, and I was like, I'm going to leave now. Like, fuck this noise. The Emperor's no longer on my side, because apparently some shiny Space Marines have the ability to shoot through fucking walls.
I think Grey Knights do have some tricks to them, but
of course.
Astral, if there is one thing that is good about Grey Knights that I don't believe anyone else has, is the ability to just give a unit shoot through walls.
Yeah,
line of sight.
It's fucking
broken. I can't think of.
Did you know that that used to be friendly Space Marine units, not friendly Grey Knight units?
Really?
Yep, just like Might of Heroes used to be friendly Space Marines units. So,
well, if we ever rewind time 12 months, you can go and take those.
I'm telling you, Nathan, we should have done it. So
take a repulsor executioner and then just make it shoot.
so because I know that a lot of people don't know about us, but anyway, so me and Nathan had a brief discussion about doing a doubles tournament at one point, because we realized that I could cast my psychic powers on his Grandmaster Dread Knight, but then obviously that was patched and stuff, and you can't interact with other chapters now, which is stupid, I think, but whatever. And I think it's a real shame that we didn't do that, because my stock standard shooting ability and Nathan's tricks, I think, would have been a really nice combo, because you would have either had to. There's 2 ways to deploy, right? Normally, so you either deploy hidden, or you deploy very like, okay, I'm standing here, you can't move me. But if you stand still, I can't, and basically saying try and move me, I'm going to shoot the shit out of you. But if you hide, Nathan's then going to be able to make ground up and just fuck you up, basically. So I think it would have been a very interesting combo.
It's kind of how my it's basically how my soup list plays anyway, because I've got the knights for the shooting, and then I've got the Grey Knights for like the shenanigans.
Yeah.
That's why I love using that list, because it's so versatile in what it can do. I can't remember what else we were talking about.
I mean, that seems like a pretty good place to wrap up there, I think.
Yeah.
So, do you have any final thoughts they want to have?
Plugs, replug everything. Nathan, plug your stuff.
Warfoundry.com.
Yeah. Richard, do you have anything to plug?
No, just warfoundry.com for Nathan. get on it, subscribe.
Leo, you had a sandwich shop you wanted to plug?
Ha, very funny. Ewan's got his podcast, as you are listening to now, hopefully, and his blogs over at
Euhan1, EUHAM1.
Yeah.
.wixsite.com/32. We'll try and put some sort of link in the show notes.
Yeah. And obviously Monday nights, Woking Warhounds. Look us up on Facebook. Very friendly, big group of players who get together and talk about stuff and competitive play and fluff, and we run leagues and stuff. But
and it's not just 40k at the club. We do have some AOS.
We do, yes, AOS
and Malifaux.
A general games club, you could call it.
Yeah, 40k is certainly the focus, but it's not the be all and end all.
Yes.
Well, thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thanks.
And we'll see you maybe next week. Who knows? No one knows. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.